Before I start talking about dev server stuff, the usual statements apply. Once we get to live, there is every chance anything you see here could change. For my dev server videos this time round, I'm going to look at some 1v1 medium range BVR testing and a couple of ARB clips as well. I'll save the more in-depth analysis for live, and I'll try to keep these videos in the 10-minute mark. First up, I'm looking at the A-18C, specifically the late version at top tier. I wanted to do the SU-30 first, but the radar on that is very buggy at the moment, so I'm hoping to give it a few days and hopefully it gets fixed a bit, but I'm not getting my hopes up on that. The Hornet, on the other hand, does feel a bit more polished. The radar has existed in game for a while now, so it's refreshing to have a new plane with a functional radar. Now, the hot topic right now is the AOA limiter button, which does feature on the Hornet, the SU-30 and a few other jets. You'll need to bind this on the switch maneuver and limits mode key on screen now in your controls. The Hornet, of course, lacks the thrust vectoring on the SU-30, so it's much less ridiculous in what it can do, but it does have some use, which I'll get into later. However, whatever plane you're flying, use this feature sparingly. You'll notice in this jousting in the background, I'm not using it because all it will achieve is me dumping all my speed and becoming incredibly vulnerable. You might also notice when I'm turning back into my notch, I'm pointing my nose down. This is partly also to maintain some of my energy, and also to try and stay below the horizon to the missile. Now, one thing the Hornet has at the moment is not a lot of countermeasures in their double pop. You basically have 30 key presses, which means you will run out, and I am going to look at that in a clip after this. However, I have had some people tell me it should have 120 or something like that. Now, I don't know anything about IRL, but, you know, hopefully that's the case, because if it does come with 60, that's going to be the biggest problem with this. Forget what people are saying about flight models and thrust away, all that stuff. The issue with this at the moment is purely on the countermeasure count. You know, the energy generation, etc. is all fine, honestly, for AirRB at least. Moving into this next clip now, we're a little bit into this duel, and you're going to see how, because, I mean, I'm not even being that inefficient with my chaff, but because I'm not, like, perfectly efficient, the low countermeasure count is going to kill me, especially because Pig against me here is flying the SU-30. He's also got a pile of missiles, so if this fight is just attrition, the SU-30 wins every time. One of the advantages I have is his radar is playing up a lot right now because of the bugs. And you see here, that missile relocks me, so I have to use the last of my chaff, and I just managed to dodge it. But now the problem is he's below me, and while I'm able to push him here, I can't get strong locks because he's probably been messing around with the AOA limiter, so he's quite slow, so my radar doesn't want to lock him. The issue here is going to be, he's going to fire back, and I don't have any chaff, and I'm also above the horizon, so I can't force this missile into IOG, so I'm just going to die here because there's just nothing I can do to dodge that missile anymore. If I was below him, I might have been able to dodge it without chaff, but as it is, I'm going to eat it. Now, given you have a very reliable radar on the Hornet, there is kind of one strategy you can go for, because you have a lot of AMRAAMs and not a lot of chaff. So instead, if you just fly kind of straight, you can just tab between the targets on your TWS, and I'm just going to aggressively push him here, and my aim here is I'm literally just going to try and shoot down all his launches against me and try and maintain a very aggressive position. Now, this is obviously a bit of a gimmick, and like in AirRB, I don't know if I'd recommend this strategy, but if you're desperate, you can rely on this strategy. It is a gamble, same way multipath's a bit of a gamble, but you see there I defeated like multiple launches. You can even see it in the kill feed now, the missiles I've shot down, and it allows me to keep a strong position and hold my lock on him and basically force him into a defensive position and actually manage to win this round. But it's also worth noting, I think in this clip Pig was having troubles with the radar. Like, there was a few times here where he definitely would have been able to get a lock and fire an R-77 at me, but because of the buggy radar issues, there's a number of them on the SU-30 right now. Sometimes it doesn't let you fire, sometimes it doesn't let you get a lock, so that obviously does work in my advantage now that I have a functioning airframe. Now in this next clip, I want to talk about the AOA limiter finally. Now you're going to see a lot of funny clips of people doing silly stuff. I want to focus more for my content on sort of functional use of it. I won't go into dueling too much because, as I've mentioned many times in the past, it's just not my area of expertise. I want to focus on its use as a way to, say, give you an advantage against maybe a superior airframe, or maybe to neutralize a position where you know, you're on the back foot, because I think that's where it's going to see most of its use. Obviously, if you're flying the Su-30, it can be good to get those R-73 launchers off and stuff like that. But in the Hornet, think of it more as a tool to make up for the weaknesses of the AMRAAM's close range, because obviously they struggle to pull in. So you're going to see here, I flick it off here to get in for the off-bore shot, but my AMRAAM still can't pull in, so Pig's able to maintain an aggressive position, because my missile just isn't a threat to him. So I'm going to flick it off again here, and I'm going to pull my nose round all the way to make the AMRAAM head on. I'm basically doing the work for the missile, and I'm still able to pull my nose back round to the notch if he does fire back at me, and then I'm just going to sit on top of him just to finish off the kill. You've got to be careful, obviously, because an Su-30 is going to be a massive threat until they're fully dead, because even when they're severed, sometimes they can just sort of stand on their thrust vectoring engines and launch at you at will. I'll showcase a bit of that usage of the AOA limiter in an ARB match now. I'm just taking down this guy top down as another flanker turns up on my left. Now, it's going to be dangerous for me to pull into him now as he's spamming missiles at me, so you see how I'm getting low to multipass, so I can try and push him for the merge. I don't want to, you know, spin it around too aggressively now, as I'll just expose myself to his launches. So now I'm low, I'm going to pull him for the launch, and now I can keep pushing aggressively into the merge because I can just use multipath to defeat that missile. As we go into the merge, as I get to the top of my loop, I'm going to flick the AOA limiter off, basically because I want to get my nose round as fast as possible so I can get the launch with the 120 and it will pull in. I am going to die to a third party, but if you watch the kill feed, you'll see that I managed to pick up the kill on the guy that I merged with there. Obviously my death cut that short a bit, so I'll just show you a quick look in the replay view of that kill. Now in this next clip, I wanted to showcase some more poor uses of the limiter and how it's just going to make you bleed all your airspeed. Now, to be fair, I'm not trying to flame these people or anything. They, like me, are just messing around probably and just seeing what these jets are capable of, but it still showcases sort of the disadvantages, so I did want to talk about it. You'll also notice that green circle probably from these clips whenever I have locks. That's basically a new thing. It's like the ideal missile lead indicator. It also gives you an idea of when they're turning as well. But you see how slow he is there, how, you know, the velocity vector basically was tiny, so he was using his AOA limiter there to basically pull his nose around really aggressively, whereas I was just jousting sort of more conventionally. And he's bled his airspeed so much that he just can't defeat that missile anymore. Now, if you get yourself slow enough to the point where you're almost hovering, you can technically notch a missile like that, but that's kind of a difficult thing to pull off in the Hornet. More achievable in the Su-30 because of the thrust vectoring, but again, a little bit of a gimmick. Most of the time, if you misuse your AOA limiter, you're just going to make yourself a sitting duck like that, while I'm just maintaining my airspeed and playing as if I was playing any other jet, really. Just taking out a couple more people in the background of this match. Usual strategies of taking command of the altitude and getting those top-down attacks on people. Cloud's also useful because they can render you unspotted, so you can get those sneak attacks. And just as I'm flying along here, someone's going to blind hunt the last guy, and there's going to be another Su-30 that pops up ahead of me. And again, with this guy, he's probably just messing around and seeing what he can do, because he ends up with me behind him, firing a couple of AMRAAMs. He defeats the first one just by, you know, flying low behind this mountain to terrain mask. As I fire the second one, though, he's basically going to pull up, shove his AOA limiter, and just put himself into a complete flat spin. So, you know, it's going to take some getting used to, because you can think of it sort of like how you can toggle sim controls on, except now you still have mouse aim with this new setting. And it's going to take some getting used to, otherwise you're going to just put yourself in those situations where you just can't defend. You basically just put yourself into a flat spin and you're a sitting duck. I know I said at the start I'd avoid silly clips, but I figured I'd leave one in for the outro just for a bit of fun whilst I was messing around with Pig. If you don't know him, he's the founder of Boys in Hell, who I play for, and you may have also noticed him casting on the air tournament in Thunder Cup, so go and check his channel out. I know you may have wanted more detail about the Hornet in this video, but as I mentioned, I don't want to cover it properly until it's in live, of course. I just want to use the dev server to give a fun little preview of the new airframes and features coming to the game. I'll try to get an SU-30 dev video out in the next few days in a similar format to this video. I'm also sitting on that SU-27 SM4v4 video that I need to voice over and find the right time to upload. I'll also look to try the premium Hornet with the new AIM 7Ps. I don't know if I'll do that on dev. I might just wait for live to do any content on that. Anyway, that's all for today, and I'll see you again next time.